Okay, this lesson is all about tuning. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to tune with an electronic tuner. And that's what you see here. Most tuners all work the same. So that's why I'm just going to do this one quick lesson. And I wanted to do a screenshot so you can see with this tuner where you can see it nice and clearly rather than try and focus in and film or video my tuner itself. So I've got the guitar kind of plugged in so that you can see. Now all electronic tuners almost have this kind of display, whether it's like a Snark or one of the Fender ones, or even a lot of the pedal tuners where you've got kind of the LEDs that move back and forth. Let me show you a quick example. So I'm hitting this note, and if I just by turning the tuner on my guitar, the tuning machine, then you can see how it goes from left to right. So starting from the top, our strings are labeled as E, A, D, G, B, and E. So this should be an E. So it's basically in tune. It's kind of moving around just a little bit. But if I drop it, now when it's sitting there, it's sitting over to the left of where that kind of middle line or that zero is. So the note would be referred to as being flat, which means the note's too low. So in order to remedy that, we turn the tuner so that the pitch goes up. Now, I'll have a lot of students say, well, which way am I supposed to turn it? Well, that depends on your guitar and whether you have 6 in a line or 3 per side, or if the string is on there incorrectly. So what we're going to do is I want you to just hit the string, only turn the machine head if you can hear the note or if it's registering on a tuner. So we've got that, and we're going to turn it a little bit and see how it's getting close to that zero. That's what we're looking for. A lot of tuners are going to do what this one does, and as soon as you're in tune, it turns to that cool green color. And that one's just kind of waving all over the place. So it's, as long as it stays green, we're good. Okay, now we're going to move over to the A string. That one's pretty good, but it could use a little bit of fine tuning. See that? Okay. Almost. There we go. Now we're going to move on to the D. That again was a little bit flat. Okay. Now let's go on to the G. Okay, now you can see that this one kind of fell over to the right. That would mean that the note is sharp. Now, if you saw there, it kind of switched to C really quick. Whenever you see, whenever you see one of those other notes pop up, the reason that it's doing that is because the perfect intervals that we have are the 1, or the root note of the scale, the first degree. Then you have what's called the 4th, the 5th, and then you have the octave. Now, I hit a G note, and we'll see if we can get it to do it again. If it'll switch over to G, see if it'll switch over to C again. As the note dies down, one of the other intervals, and usually it's the 4th or the 5th, that comes up. For G, that's going to be G, and you might see a C or a D. The 4th is a perfect interval. The 5th is a perfect interval. I have this question come up a lot. As soon as the fundamental note, which is the G, would start to die down, then the tuner can pick up the overtones a little bit easier, and so that's why you see that C, or you might see a D. So here, going back to tuning, we are a little bit sharp, so we need to loosen the string a little bit because we need it to go to that green. Good, right there. Now, on B, we're in tune, but we're also riding a little bit sharp. See if we can get it to go down just a little bit more. There we go. And E is right about there. Now, when you first sit down with a guitar, what you want to do is make sure it's in tune. The way I teach all my students to check tuning is play an E minor chord. Just the regular, basic E minor chord. If you do that, now right now we're hearing a little bit of that warbling sound in there, which means one of the notes is a little bit more off than it needs to be. The reason I use an E minor chord is because going across, we have an E. If we look at the notes, we have an E, we have a B, we have an E, a G, a B, and an E. So we have a bunch of E's and B's. We have one G right in the middle. And it's all mostly open notes. The only two notes that we're fretting are the second fret on the A string and the second fret on the D string to get that B and that E, the lower versions of it. So let's go back and we'll tune again. Okay. Okay. Now see that little tiny bit of a difference between that D wants to ride a little bit tiny bit sharp. That G falls a little bit flat. That is what's making the guitar sound like it's out of tune when you play that chord. It's just those little variances that make the difference. And that B is a little bit flat. There we go. Much better. Much better. Now, every time you pick up your guitar, you need to make sure that it's in tune. Unlike a piano, which you can tune, play for a while, and then tune it like once a year, every 6 months, depending on how much it's played, a piano has a gigantic metal plate in it that keeps the strings tension from changing. Guitars do not have that. Guitars are susceptible to humidity changes, temperature changes. Just for an example, if it's the middle of summer and you leave your guitar in the car, your guitar is going to get hot. Wood, when it gets hot, expands, which is going to put more tension on your strings, which will cause all your strings to go sharp. On the other side of that, if you leave your guitar in the car and it's winter, and you live in a colder climate, then the wood will shrink a little bit, making your strings go flat, because it's going to lower the tension on the strings. So every time you pick up your guitar, make sure that it's in tune. It doesn't matter how good you are, how long you've been playing. If your guitar is out of tune, it's not going to sound good. So that's a really easy way for you to make sure that you're going to sound as good as you can. So hopefully you understand tuning a little bit now, and I hope this helps you out. I'm also going to do a couple of another video on tuning the guitar to itself, which is what we used to have to do before electronic tuners were so readily available, and I'm going to do one on tuning by harmonics.